So good, so good. Well, happy Easter. Man, it's so good to be together today. And I really want to say welcome to you, especially if you're a first-time guest with us today. And I know Rich just said that a moment ago, but I know that a lot of us, maybe you're checking out of church for the very first time. And hey, I don't know what you've walked in these doors holding on to tonight. I mean, maybe for you, you've got like some church hurt, some church wounds. Maybe you're a skeptic of God and organized religion and you're not really sure what's happening, or maybe you're just desperate and you thought, I just need to go to this place. Whatever it is, I don't think how you got here matters as much as the fact that you're here. And you're in a place where we say all the time that you don't have to have it all figured out. The reality is none of us have it all figured out. So we say that you belong with us even before you believe like us. And that's not just a slogan that we say, that's the heartbeat of this church, whether you're doubting or skeptic, that this is a place where you can explore faith. And so I'm not pushing anything. I'm not selling you anything. This isn't some like golf country club where you pay to get it. No. We're not doing any of that. It doesn't change the heart of anybody. We're here to celebrate this Jesus that has literally changed my life. And that's the only thing I want for you tonight, is for you to come to know this Christ. And so, Father, we're thankful. We're thankful. God, I don't even know what to say, and I don't even know how to thank you with my worship, God. How do you thank a God who literally intervened and came to this earth in the form of his son and took my place on a cross, a death I should have paid? And then you resurrected from that grave just to get to me? Like, I know me, I'm not that, you don't want to be with me, but yet you did that. You bridged the gap for every single person in this room. And so God, the only thing we know to do is just to give you our lives back. May everything we do, God, be honoring and glorifying to you, our risen Savior. Today is about you, Jesus. We love you. We thank you. It's in your name. Amen. Amen. Hey, as you're finding your seat, why don't you give like two people a high five and tell them, you look good on Easter. I like your Easter pastels. You're looking good on Easter. Somebody's about to get a date after church. Okay. I see that. Well, again, welcome today. We're here to celebrate the greatest event that ever took place in human history, the moment when Jesus literally resurrected from the grave. And like I said earlier, I love these kind of weekends because of the differences of kind of people in the house today, all right? So let's just address it out the gate. Like, there's some of us here and like you're fired up, Red Bull amped, ready to go because Jesus has changed your life. This is the Super Bowl of your faith. He saved you, redeemed you, freed you. And like, you're like, ah! We got anybody like that? Y'all, is that you? Yeah, you're like, this is my day. I love it. And maybe you're sitting next to that person, they're waving their hands. You're like, wow, I'm gonna catch a hand to the face. And then you got like another group of people, maybe even sitting right next to you or right behind you on your row. Like, you like Easter, like it's a great holiday, but for you, if you're honest, Easter is more of a time of like egg hunts and Easter bunny and family photos in your pastels, because you don't actually believe that a human being can die and literally resurrect from the grave. And so you don't believe this. Now, if that is you, if you're on sort of that side of the belief system today, I just want you to know that I'm glad you're here. And you don't gotta fake it. You don't have to act like you believe in something that you don't believe in. I mean, when I said just a minute ago that you belong with us before you believe like us, I really meant that. I think what makes Lifepointe a unique place is that this is a safe place where you can ask hard questions, you can explore faith. And if you don't believe me, I want to invite you to come back next Sunday because we're going to start a 5-part teaching series that I think you might enjoy. We're going to just simply call it Questioning Christianity. And we're going to look at like 5 major questions that people have about God, faith, religion, the Bible, that often act as a barrier between you embracing Christ. So we're just going to go for it. So next Sunday, I'm going to kick the series off and I'm going to talk about this question around exclusivity. I mean, how in the world can Christians claim that they got the corner market on salvation? Like, Pastor, you do know there's 8 major world religions, 9 billion people on the planet. Only about 4.5 billion believe that Jesus was the Son of God. What are we gonna do with the other 5 billion people? Are you telling me that they're wrong? Well, come back next Sunday, I'll give you my answer. And then the week after that, we're gonna talk about pain and suffering. Like, if God is so good, why is there so much evil? Because, hey, when I turn on my news feed, it looks like evil's winning and God is losing. That's a big question. And then on Mother's Day, come back for that because we're gonna talk about women in the Bible. And maybe a big barrier for you is, doesn't the Bible like degrade, oppress women? I'm excited for that one. Then the next week after that, I'm gonna do a message all around sexuality. And because a lot of people believe that the Bible actually suppresses sexuality. Some of y'all, I got your attention now. You're like, okay, I'm coming back for that one. And then we're gonna close out the series with this big idea of hell. And maybe you're like, I hear that you Christians believe that there's this actual place of like eternal damnation. Like, how does God like get his kicks and giggles watching people suffer? I can't embrace a God like that. Come back for that final week. And the reason why we're doing this, honestly, I'll be honest, the reason why we're doing this series around tough questions is because I fully believe that often your greatest questions about God can become the greatest bridges to God. That what you once thought was a barrier in one season of your life can actually become a bridge. That questions make great connections. And so we're just gonna go after it and explore some of these questions. And we really shouldn't be surprised tonight that we have doubts and we have questions about God, faith, in the Bible, considering the fact that even Jesus' inner circle, you might have heard him as the 12 disciples. Y'all know like they didn't believe half the stuff that Jesus said. Matter of fact, I'll even take it a step further. The first Easter morning, they were in complete disbelief. They were nowhere to be found at that first Easter morning because when they saw his lifeless body come off a cross, they believed what you believe. That is, when somebody dies, dead people stay dead. But yet something happened. In a moment, they went from disbelief to belief. And I believe in the power of a moment that something can begin to shift in your life today. So with that, let's look at Matthew chapter 28 as we investigate the very first Easter morning. Matthew chapter 28, if you got a Bible, grab it. If not, no worries, we'll put it up on the screen here. Here's what Matthew says about the first Easter morning. It says this in verse 1, after the Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it like a boss. That should be in parentheses. And his appearance, listen to this, was like lightning and his clothes were white as snow. In other words, when Matthew's trying to articulate in like English vernacular or Greek vernacular, there's no words that can describe this angel. So he's like, it's like lightning, but not really. Just think white snow. So there's this amazing angelic angel sitting on top. And then it says this, the guards were so afraid of him that they shook and they became like dead men. And the angel said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He's not here, he is risen just as he said. So come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you'll see him. Now I've told you. So look what the women do, verse 8. So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy. I bet they were. And they ran to tell the disciples when suddenly Jesus met them and he said, greetings. And they came to him, collapsed at his feet and worshiped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell your brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me. I really want verse 6, the words of the angel, to serve as our key text today. Look at this verse again. The angel says, he is not here. He is risen just as he said. Just as he said. For the brief moments we share, I wanna use that as my message subject today. I wanna speak to you from this thought right here. I told you so. I told you so. Come on, it is 4 words that you hate when other people tell you, but you can't wait to tell them. Oh, I feel it right now. Something happened this week. Some of y'all got some pent up aggression. Go ahead, get it out. Look at the person you came with and just tell them, I told you so. Go ahead, I told you so. Yeah, nobody wants to hear this, but everybody loves to say it. Now, I had an I told you so moment last month in March. So last month, my wife and I, we took our 3 kids for the very first time to Disney World. We did it. Disney World, the most magical place on earth, unless you're paying the bill. I don't know what your version of magic is. My money disappears. Like, it's great unless you're flipping. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And so I figured, like, my oldest son, he's 11, and I was able to avoid going to Disney for 11 years. So I made a good run, didn't I? It was a good run. I mean, everybody pays their Disney tax at some point. So if you haven't paid yours yet, don't worry, it's gonna come one day. And it was a great trip, it really was, man. We had a great time. My mother came, my wife's mother came, my youngest brother, his 2 kids, his wife, and it was a blast. And I learned a lot about the Disney experience as a first timer. Like, did you guys realize, do you do this with your kids? Apparently when you go to Disney, it's the thing to put all the children in matching outfits. Okay, you do this too. Okay, all right. Yeah, and I thought to myself when my wife and sister-in-law had all the kids' outfits lined up, I thought, oh, that's really sweet for them. Until she looked at me and gave me my matching t-shirt. So me and my youngest brother, we walk around looking the same. Like, don't encourage this, by the way. This is the only place in the world where this is acceptable. And so one day we're at Disney, and apparently it was a tank top day. So we have these matching, my brother and I had these matching tank tops. And you gotta understand, like, it's Florida, sun's out, guns out. And like my pasty skin had not seen the sun since last fall. So I've got like SPF 50, I'm lathering up. It's beautiful, sunny Florida. And I look at my youngest brother and I said, Graham, you need to put some sunscreen on. He's like, no, I'm good. I wanna get some sun today. Now, he lives in Maine. They only see the sun 3 months out of the year. I'm like, no, really, bro, like, you need to put some sunscreen on. No, I'll do it later. So like, we're doing the day, and you're out, and you lose track of time, and I'm on like my second re-lather, and I constantly was like, Graham, put some sunscreen on. Okay, I'll do it in a little bit. So we walked the park the entire day. Evening comes, we're getting ready to leave, and I look over at Graham, and I'm like, bro, you're glowing. Do you feel okay? And he's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, maybe you should look at your skin. So he takes off his tank top, and check this out right here. You can't make this up. That hurts, doesn't it? So me being a good brother, I went up behind him and smacked him on the neck. No, I didn't do that, but the whole night, he's complaining, and he couldn't have enough ibuprofen and aloe lotion and cold rags. And so we get back to the condo, and I couldn't wait. I did it. I looked at him, and I said, bro, come on, help me out. I told you so. If you just would have taken heed to your eldest brother's wise counsel, you could have avoided the blisters. I told you if you don't do this, then that will happen. I told you so. Yeah, I wonder tonight, what voice do you hear when you think of those 4 words? Maybe you hear the voice of your mama, because growing up, your mom said, that's fine, I'm gonna let life teach you. You go ahead and do that. And now mama's getting the last laugh, I told you so. Maybe you are a mama, and you're raising kids, and you're raising that kid, and you're constantly telling your children, I told you so. Anybody raising that kid right now? It's like, Pastor, it's 50-50 if they're gonna make it. Like, just pray for me, okay. I see, yeah. Nobody wants to be told this, but you can't wait to tell other people. And I think, although I don't like to be on the receiving end of it, I think I like this phrase, because what you're really saying is, how come you didn't trust me? Why didn't you trust me? If you just would have believed that what I was telling you, then you could have avoided the pitfall. You could have avoided all of the challenges that you're now facing. Where's the trust? You didn't actually think that I have your best interest in mind. Why didn't you trust me? I say that because in Matthew chapter 28, I'll be honest, when I first read the angel's response to these ladies, which is basically the angel saying, I told you so, he's not here. My first thought was, this is really bad timing, okay? Like, cut these ladies a break. This is pretty insensitive, especially when you kind of zoom out a little bit and you consider the context. So the women, Matthew has given us some important details. He said that they arrive at the tomb and they're carrying 2 things. One are linen, and that was to give Jesus a proper Jewish burial and put the funeral clothes on Jesus. The second were spices to help with the smell, the embalming process. And the reason why the women are there on Sunday is because everything about Jesus' crucifixion was hurried. It was rushed. Matter of fact, Matthew earlier on would say that when the guards took his body off the cross, they moved in haste. Secretive. Like they couldn't get Jesus' dead body into that tomb and that stone rolled over it with guards planted outside quick enough. Not because they were afraid that he was actually gonna resurrect from the dead. No, they didn't believe that. They were more afraid that somebody was actually gonna steal the body and then stage some lie about the resurrection. And then on top of it, you add the fact that Jesus died on a Friday. Saturday on the Jewish calendar would have been their Sabbath. it would have been unlawful for the women to work or to go to the tomb on the Sabbath. So this is literally the first time that these ladies have the chance to go visit their friend, the one that they deeply love, to give him the burial that his life deserved. Not to mention, where are the 12 disciples? I mean, at least these women had the boldness and the gall and the tenacity to go to the empty tomb, putting their life on the line. The 12 disciples are nowhere to be found. They're hiding for the fear of their own life. So excuse me when I read the angel's response and think, this is bad timing. Really? Is this the time you really want to drop an "I told you so" line? But then when I look a little bit deeper, I think what the angel is getting at is, how come you didn't actually believe that Jesus was gonna do what he said that he would do? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Because when you understand the context that Jesus actually told his disciples, did you know this? 3 different times, if not more, exactly what was gonna happen to him. I'll show it to you. Matthew chapter 16, we see the very first time Jesus says this, verse 21. It says, from that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem, suffer many things from the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and on the 3rd day, be raised again. So in other words, Jesus is like, all right, hey, we're about to take a road trip down to Jerusalem. It's all business, no pleasure. And when we get there, I don't want you to be caught off guard. So I'm gonna tell you literally exactly what's gonna happen. And he did. And then 2 weeks later, he repeated it again. Look at Matthew chapter 17, verse 22. It says, when they came together in Galilee, he said to them, that's the 12, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they're gonna kill him, but hold tight. On the 3rd day, he will be raised to life. And if 2 times isn't enough, because these weren't the sharpest guys, all right? There were better people in the selection process. So he's like, all right, let me give it to him one more time. Days before his crucifixion, Matthew chapter 20, verse 18, he says, guys, we're going to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over the chief priests and the teachers of the law, and they will condemn him to death. And they're gonna hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified. And on the 3rd day, he will be raised to life. I mean, come on, church, could it not have been more obvious? He literally gave them the playbook. And on the first Easter morning, they're gone. They never believed it. Like, Matthew 28 should have read completely different. Like, that should have been a morning on that first sunrise service. Like, they're all showing up early before the sun comes over the break of the dawn. It should have been like a, breakfast potluck with fireworks and confetti cannons, getting ready to celebrate this. I mean, if I can, Matthew 28 should have read something like this. Early. I don't have a deep voice, that's all I got. Okay. Early on the first day of the week, just before the break of dawn, the disciples got up, grabbed their torches, went to the place where Jesus was buried, and stood outside the tomb. And as the sun began to peek over the horizon, all the disciples and the women began a holy countdown. 10, 9, 8, come on, help me out. 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, and on 1, the heavens opened up and the stone rolled away and a bright light pierced through the empty tomb, and there stood before them Jesus, the risen King. And then a voice from heaven that sounded like Morgan Freeman said to them,
listen to me, my children. Behold, this is my beloved Son, in whom I love and in whom I am well pleased. He has risen from the grave, just like he said he would.
Hey, let's thank Morgan Freeman for taking time out of his day to... Like, that's how the story should have been written. But on that day, the 12 that spent the most time with Jesus, 3 years of an investment, when Jesus needed them the most, they were nowhere to be found. That's why I love the angel's response. Because what it does is it confronts in all of us our disbelief. See, it doesn't matter today if you've been following Jesus for your whole life. Maybe you were born in the church sanctuary, had communion juice in your sippy cup. Like, you don't know life without going to church and following Jesus. Or maybe you feel like you're far from God and you don't want anything to do with Jesus. What we actually all have in common is that every single one of us struggles with doubt. I don't care who you are. That back part of your mind where you kind of wonder, what if? Yeah, it's the reason why God will show up in your life and you're surprised that God actually does something. We're more liable when God does something incredible to call it coincidence. Think about that. We are likely to give credit to coincidence than to God's providence. Come on, church. It's why God will show up and you're shocked by his goodness. You're surprised that he actually answered a prayer that you specifically prayed, that he actually restored that broken relationship. You're shocked that he provided for you when you didn't know where the provision was gonna come from. Just when you were stuck in that circumstance, God made a way when there was no way. Come on, if you've ever been surprised by just how good God really is, thank him on Easter that he doesn't turn away from you and I, even when we don't believe. He just keeps showing up. I think the reason why we're shocked is because there's parts of us where we still have disbelief. The reason why the women and the disciples didn't see Jesus that morning is because they weren't expecting it. Yet it's actually now today in our day, psychology world, they call this inattentional blindness. Have you heard of this? So inattentional blindness was sort of developed by the University of California, Santa Barbara. And they concluded that inattentional blindness is a real thing. Now, instead of me telling you what it is, I wanna show you, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna participate. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen in a minute of a messy bathroom. And your job in like 4 seconds or less is to find the toothbrush in the messy bathroom. All right, you ready? Okay, go ahead, show the picture. All right, you gotta find the toothbrush. Okay, you see it? You got it? All right, how many of y'all found the toothbrush right there on the counter? Okay. Now, how many of you have missed the giant 4-foot toothbrush in the corner? Go ahead, tell them where, there it is. Yeah, now you're catching it. I did it too, honestly, I did it, I missed it. How in the world do we miss the giant 4-foot toothbrush in the corner right next to the counter? You know why? Inattentional blindness. It is basically that you and I tend to see things that we're expecting. We only seem to focus in on things that we're expecting to see. You weren't expecting the toothbrush to be so big, so you focused in on all the little things. Oh, I feel this right here. How many times do we do this in our own lives? It's like we're so zoomed in on all the little things that are taking place that we're missing the God thing. Like the evidence of God's existence is all around us, but we don't see it. And whatever gets your attention drives your awareness. So really the question we should be asking on Easter is, what has your focus? What are you locked in on today? Because if you're locked in on all the ways that your life has been a mess, all the times you've been overlooked, disappointed, hurt, broken, you thought you'd be at this place in your life by now, if that's what you're focused in on, your inattentive blindness will keep you from seeing the hand of God over your life, that his grace has never ran out on you. His mercy renews every single day for you, that he never stops chasing you down. I mean, the fact that you're here today with air in your lungs in Easter should be evidence that God is pursuing you. This is the goodness of God, that even when your inattentional blindness blocks you, he'll use all things to get you to see him again. And he shows up every time. Even when you're not expecting it, God reveals himself. And we see it in the garden that early Easter morning. There are two things that God makes visible to these women that I believe when these two things become visible in your life, you will see Jesus in a way you've never seen him. The first is the angel gives these ladies proof. Look at the text. He says, he is not in here. I told you so. He is risen just as he said, but come and see the place where he lay. I love this. The angel isn't reprimanding them for not believing. He's not looking at them going, oh my gosh, you humans, I told God to wipe the earth, but okay. You guys don't believe anything. I mean, this is unbelievable. He told you 3 times and you still missed it. You should have just believed. He doesn't say that. And unfortunately, maybe your story is, that's how a lot of churches are. Like you feel like you show up and you can't ask questions and you act like you got to have it all together and have it all figured out and pretend and you speak Christianese. When the truth is, doubting is a part of life. And look at what the angel says. He looks at him and he goes, no. Don't leave. Come in. Hear me. The message of Jesus is not check your brain at the door and just believe these fairy tale myths and don't ever ask questions about the Bible because I said so. That's not the message of Jesus. You know what it is? It's a come and see. Come and see for yourself. You know why? Because God's not hiding anything. The evidence of his existence, the proof that Jesus truly resurrected from the grave is everywhere. God is trying to show off everywhere if we could just see it. And if I had the time, I would walk through different events that took place that really prove that this Jesus resurrected from the grave. But the one, let me give you one. The one that, man, really deepens my faith in Jesus' resurrection is the transformation of these disciples. Yeah, I've been alluding to the fact all Easter that they're nowhere to be found. They're hiding because they know that if the Jewish leaders could get to their leader and kill him, it's only a matter of time until they are at the stake as well. And so they're hiding in fear, yet 3 months later, when you read the rest of the New Testament, they're preaching in front of large crowds about the resurrection of Jesus. Like, what happened in 3 months? That they would go from hiding to leading, from silence to being outspoken, from fear to boldness. Not to mention, every single one of the disciples, except for John, was martyred because they would not denounce Jesus' resurrection. Now, let's be honest, all right? Let's keep it real for a second. If this was a made up story, and that night they all just got together like a band of brothers and they were like, all right, well, that was a waste of 3 years. He died. And wow, we look like idiots. So here's what we're gonna do, all right? Guys, Thomas, everybody get in here. All right, we're gonna make up a story. And we're gonna steal the body and everybody has to commit to this story, all right? Pinky swear on 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Like if that's actually what happened, you know at least one of them, when the sword was at their head, somebody would have been like, all right, it's not true, we made it up. It's not real, just don't kill me. Somebody would have caved. You know why? Because most people wouldn't die for something that they know is true, let alone die for something that they know is a lie. The only logical explanation is, what if it actually happened? And the angel says, come see, don't take my word, come see for yourself where he lay. But here's what I know, and I think you know this too, if evidence was all it took for people to believe in Jesus, we'd be done by now. I'm telling you, it's everywhere. Something else has to happen. It's not just proof, but Jesus has to become personal. So it's proof and personal. It's evidence and experience. Faith is facts and feeling. It's this weird dichotomy that makes faith so rich. It's both. So the angel says, look at this, verse 8. So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid, yet filled with joy. And they ran to tell the disciples, and suddenly Jesus met them personal. Greetings, he said, and they came to him, clasped his feet, and worshiped him. This is so powerful. It's almost as if Jesus knew that when they get into that tomb and they see that I'm not there, it's not gonna be enough. So the resurrected king waits in the garden. He waits in the garden, and when they see Jesus, did you notice their response? They fell at his feet and they worshiped him. That the proof didn't elicit that kind of response when they went into the tomb. They didn't worship there and sing hymns there. It wasn't until Christ became personal. And the beauty of Easter on Resurrection Sunday weekend is that every single Christ follower, you have a personal story of resurrection, of how Christ saved you, he's changed you, he's redeemed you. You've gone from spiritual death to spiritual life. I can't explain it. I don't know what to say. All I know is I was here, but now God has brought me there. And your personal story of resurrection is what gives the resurrection credibility. Anybody got a story of resurrection today? Come on, wave at me. Yeah, if God's done something in your life. And your personal testimony, that's what makes the resurrection credible. Because look, we can debate the Bible all day long and whether or not the events actually took place, but nobody can debate your personal experience. People got nothing when you're like, man, I don't even know. If you only knew me a couple weeks ago or a couple years ago, all I can say is that I didn't have any response in my nature and something supernatural took place, and the love of God has changed me from the inside out. That is the greatest expression of resurrection. And I love this moment. On their worst day, Jesus is hanging around the garden. I think it really reveals the heart of Christ. Because when life is at its worst, I want you to see this. When life is at its worst, Jesus is close. That's why he hung out there. It's only when you have to live your nightmare that you will discover that Jesus really is near. Because when life is at its worst, Jesus is close. So today, I want you to hear a personal story of how proof in a personal experience created something deeper that empty religion just couldn't fill. Because I've learned that you can really tell a lot about somebody and what they believe about God, not on their best day, but on their worst day, when they actually have to live their nightmare. So I want you to hear this story of a couple in our church that nightmare became true. Check this out.
We had a previous miscarriage, so I kind of knew like those feelings. So I told DJ one day when he got home, like, pretty sure we're pregnant, but was like a little hesitant to get too excited.
With our past experience, it was just like, it's kind of like you're in the middle, you know? It's Carter Roy Anderson. My mom's maiden name is Carter, and then the biggest thing was my granddad. His name is Roy, so the fact that we were going to carry on the name and then make his name the middle name for Carter was just a super, super cool moment.
So when I was 38 weeks was kind of our plan to go back to Augusta, and I was going to stay there until Carter was born. So the Thursday, I went to work. He had loaded up my car. I was going straight from work to an appointment. DJ was going to come on that Saturday. So she put the Doppler on my stomach and nothing, like just silence. So we went to get an ultrasound just to see what was going on, and we could see him on the screen and he was still with no heartbeat. I was with my doctor and Karen, and DJ was calling on the phone and I couldn't answer it. And then he called again and I couldn't answer it. But who wants to tell their husband that their little boy's heart isn't beating?
I knew when she didn't pick up the phone the second time. I knew.
I went to the hospital with my mom and his mom. So he got there, our moms left, and it was just kind of us for the night. It was long.
Yeah.
It was long,
Yeah.
and it was quiet. I think we just knew like what was to come in the morning.
You're holding, it's yours. It's your son that you had all these plans for and dreams and everything, and it's like, man, he's so perfect, like this is my son. And then it's like, but the time is so limited with him because of the circumstances.
Like you had like this like sense of joy because he is beautiful and perfect and yours, and was, you know, you got to share him with everybody. Mm-hmm. But the like giving him back is hard.
The whole time, like the Holy Spirit was in the room, in that hospital room, we still got a lot to praise him for, man. So yeah, we made a decision to go to church. We sat in and we just praised him. Right now, it is every single day we wake up and the chains have to fall off. The depression, the anxiety,
Shame, the guilt.
the shame, the guilt.
It's a lot.
You wake up every single day and they have to fall off again. But for them to fall off, you have to get up and you have to take action. And I think that's where we've seen God show up so much in our life, is the action that we've taken. It's resurrection. It is. It's resurrection.
Because of Easter and because of Jesus resurrecting, like we have the opportunity to see Carter again and to hold Carter again. And that just gives me hope to keep moving forward, knowing that like our last time here with him will not be our last time with him.
Right.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. And I can tell you right now, empty religion can't get you through the burial of your child. Facts and knowledge can't mend a broken heart. Matter of fact, you know this as much as I do. Life just has a way of beating you up, doesn't it? Sometimes life is just relentless and ruthless. And life will hit you when you're not even expecting it. And it's easy when those moments of life happen that your heart begins to grow harder. And we begin to build up walls and barriers, and we think that we're doing this to protect ourselves from keeping people out. If I just don't hurt again. But really, when you build up a wall, you're not protecting yourself, you're hurting yourself. It's almost like we need something that can soften our hearts and tear down these walls. That's why I love the Bible, because Jesus tells us the only thing that can soften the heart of a man, of a woman. And he shows it to his disciples just days before he would be crucified. It's often referred to as Holy Week. The week before Jesus' arrest, he spent time with his disciples across the street from the city of Jerusalem on the Mount of Olives. Well, at the bottom of the Mount of Olives is a garden. It's called the Garden of Gethsemane. If you go to Israel today, I've been there, you can still see the Garden of Gethsemane. It's beautiful. It's filled with beautiful, it's an olive vineyard, all these olive trees. And I learned a lot about an olive. Like if I was to ask you, what's the best way to preserve an olive? I know you've never thought about it till right now. What would you say? I don't know, maybe you'd be like, freeze it. That seems like the logical response. Maybe the best way to preserve an olive is to can it, like a canned good. And those are great options, but not the best for preservation. For the best method to preserve an olive is not in the olive itself, it's in the oil. It's the olive oil that can survive and have no shelf life in a jar or in a bottle. But the only way that you get the olive oil out is if you crush it. The Garden of Gethsemane literally means the place of crushing. So when you're crushing an olive, it looks like you're destroying it, but actually you're preserving it. Oh, church, this was a very intentional place that Jesus took his disciples, as if to show them in just a few moments, they're gonna arrest me and I'm gonna be hung on a criminal's cross and they're gonna beat me and they're gonna whip me and the weight of the sin of the world will rest upon my shoulders and it's gonna crush me and it's gonna hurt me. But do not be dismayed, because they're not breaking me, they're actually preserving me. For the life of Jesus was never in his physical body, it was always in his blood. Because it's only by his blood, the perfect sacrifice of God, that can atone the sins of all of humanity. They weren't breaking him, they were preserving him. It's why Isaiah, 2,000 years before this took place, look what Isaiah said in the Old Testament, Isaiah 53 verse 5. He said, but he, referring to Jesus, was pierced for our transgressions. He was what? Come on, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. This had to happen. So the olive tree it's so significant in symbolism. I'll also learn that an olive can look ripe, but it's hard as a rock until the first rain of the season comes. So when I happened to be in Israel, the first rain had not yet come, and sure enough, man, there's these beautiful, lush olives. To the untrained eye, you think this is ripe. We picked one off, and that thing was hard as a rock. It's not until the rain comes is the olive ready to be picked. Without the rain, it's not ripe. Now follow me. Then I started thinking about how the word rain is the same idea in the Hebrew as the word grace. Rain is incarnate in a cloud. Grace was incarnate in Jesus. When a cloud opens up, rain comes down. When Jesus was opened up, grace came down. For the only thing that can heal a heart and mend your brokenness and knock down those walls and barriers that you've created is when the rain of God's grace softens your life. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because you might be here tonight and on the outside, you can look like you have it all together. Yeah, you look right on the outside. You make money, you got a family, got everything, but yet you know that your heart is hard. The only thing that can soften that is the rain of God's grace. The only thing that can mend your brokenness and restore you is his grace. See, church, I got really good news on this Easter Sunday weekend is that when they crushed Jesus, what they didn't realize is that they actually opened up the cloud of heaven. And in that moment, mercy came down, love came down, forgiveness came down, grace came down. I'm telling you right now, you can't go anywhere without the cloud of God's grace raining on your life. Is anybody grateful that you're under the sustaining love of what God has done for you? Woo! I'll tell you what, you'll never hear that old classic hymn, Amazing Grace, now that you know where it comes from the same way. Matter of fact, Alexa, just sing this over us. And as she sings this, think about these words. Sing this for us right here.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Come on, let his rain
that
pour over you right here.
a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
I wish you could sing.
'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed.
Yeah. So good. So good. The enemy thought he won when Jesus' body was being crushed. But what he didn't realize is that he was actually opening up the cloud of heaven over your life. I never thought about it till now, the phrase in the lyric, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I never thought a theological word could have sound, but now I get it. I think grace sounds like the pitter-patter of rain. And every time it hits your heart, it softens you. And so today, as we consider the proof and the personal side of the resurrection, let me ask you a very pointed question. When was a moment in your life where you trusted Jesus? See, the beauty of salvation is that Jesus did all the heavy lifting. Matter of fact, the only thing that you have to do, you see this one word repeated over and over. It came from Jesus' mouth. It's all over the New Testament. Over and over you hear this word, believe. Believe. And you might say, okay, well, what do I need to believe? Well, there's two dominant things you have to believe. Number one, that you're a flawed, sinful person. That you have selfishness, error, wrong about you, and that sin is what the Bible calls has separated you from a holy God. And believe that because of God's love for you, he sent himself in the form of Jesus, and that death on the cross covered your sin, resurrected on the third day, and it bridged the gap. You couldn't earn it, you couldn't read the Bible enough for it, you couldn't do enough good things. Jesus did it all for you. And then you have to believe that he truly is the Son of God. So I'm asking you today, do you believe? Do you believe? I know you have doubts. Belief and doubt can coexist, by the way. We're gonna get to that. I wanna know, do you believe that Jesus truly is the Son of God? If that's you, why not say yes to him right now? And so if that's you, I'd love for you just to close your eyes and bow your heads. And there's nothing magical about this prayer, although I'm just gonna help lead you through some words that I think will signify what's taking place right now in your heart. I know you can feel it. I know your heart is beating. I believe it's because God has you here for this moment, as his cloud of grace has been waiting to unleash over your life. And if that's you, just simply pray to yourself quietly. Say this, Father, right now, I feel your grace, this undeserving gift of forgiveness. And Lord, I do believe that you are the Son of God, sent to this earth, and you died a death I should have died for my sin. You paid it for me. And I believe that you resurrected from the grave. And right now, I'm placing my trust, my faith in you. Come into me. I exchange my old self for this new nature that you give every single believer. And hey, if that's you, we don't want to, with your eyes closed and your head bowed, we don't want to embarrass you, but I think if you just made this decision, we would just love to know who you are. And in a moment, you can just raise your hand on the count of 3. And again, if you really prayed this and you believe it, then you should be proud that this is your day where grace came over your life. So if that's you, be bold, be proud on the count of 3. 1, this is your moment. 2, come on, right here. 3, just shoot your hand up in the air right there. Just shoot it up. Yeah, we see you. Just keep it up high. Our team's coming with a bag. Come on, let's clap for those, that are making this decision. This is the greatest thing in the world right here. Come on, hearts are softening, walls are breaking right here because of Jesus.